We are live and broadcasting Round 2 Wrestling here on the 8th of August, 2023. I am your host with the most wrestling information, SlimmDa KID, and we have foregone the music and the formalities because this is an absolute information-stuffed podcast for you, the fan. For those of you tuning in for the very first time, you're in for a treat. This is very similar to a news broadcast. We have it broken down into 4 segments or 4 rounds, starting with Round 1, the Pro Wrestling Rumor Mill, moving over to something a bit more real, Round 2, Pro Wrestling News. Round 3, title matches and those exclusive results for you, the fan, before concluding with Round 4, Did You Know Pro Wrestling Facts. However, this is the beginning of the podcast, which means we have to start with Round 1, Pro Wrestling Rumor Mill. Alrighty. While there's no official update on her status, Wrestling Observer Radio's Dave Meltzer has heard Jade Cargill is considering not coming back to AEW. This is a big rumor, and we will be sure to follow this as closely as possible. AEW All In will be available in the U.S. as a $50 pay-per-view on Comcast and DirecTV, according to WrestleNomics and the Wrestling Observer. Whether or not that is true has yet to be seen because they haven't announced any of the supporting broadcasting partners for this particular AEW pay-per-view. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that Ilya Dragunov isn't going to the main WWE roster anytime soon. Thunder Rosa is training regularly in preparation for a return to the ring, says Wrestling Observer newsletter. Now, this is in the rumors section because it has been reported that this has been going on for several weeks, but we have seen little to no result that indicates that she will be coming back to the AEW roster anytime soon. Nate Diaz told ESPN that he walked away from a proposed boxing match with Logan Paul because, quote, WWE came in and they wanted to take over the whole thing, end quote. I am proud of Nate Diaz for turning this down because this is something that WWE does all the time. They want to propose something and tweak it because they have the ability to do that. I am proud that Nate Diaz walked away from this bullshit match and continued up his tough guy attitude and take no prisoners mantra, including how he fights his particular matches. While they haven't been able to confirm why, PW Insider did confirm that the NWA's Camille replaced Charlotte Flair in the upcoming Mildred Burke biopic. AEW's Toni Storm also replaced Liv Morgan in the cast, so it looks like WWE wrestlers are out and AEW wrestlers are in. WRKD Wrestling claims that there are, quote, growing frustrations backstage in WWE regarding the handling of the women's division, end quote. This particular rumor seems to have a bit of truth to it. 2 matches from SummerSlam were scrapped this particular weekend, and both of them happened to be women's matches. Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, went to his press conference and said that these matches were never on the card to begin with, so there were no scratches to be made. However, Rhea Ripley and several other women have taken to social media lately to vent their frustrations about the women's division in WWE. We here at Round 2 Wrestling will keep a close eye on this particular rumor and will update you on any news that comes out regarding this as the weeks and months go on. The length of the Elite's new multi-year deal with AEW is, quote, supposed to be a secret, whatever the number is, end quote, per Dave Meltzer, although he heard a rumor that it's for 4 years. Speaking of Dave Meltzer also said that there were issues between WWE's creative team and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler regarding how they should work the MMA rules match at SummerSlam. This was the worst match on the card. We will talk about that later in the show. Regarding WWE's ongoing TV rights negotiations, Dave Meltzer said there's been talk that Fox is, quote, not willing to go much higher to retain WWE's SmackDown. We could be seeing SmackDown on a new network here sooner rather than later. Per the Wrestling Observer, Pac is injured again, and it's unclear what his exact injury is, and it's expected he'll be out for quite some time. That is the conclusion of round 1 and the Pro Wrestling Rumor Mill. Enough to think about for the next week or so, but we are done with question marks and are going to move over to something a bit more real. This is round 2 Pro Wrestling News. Wheeling and dealing within AEW, the promotion has re-signed several wrestlers to extended contracts. Kip Sabian has agreed to a new 3-year deal with All Elite Wrestling, according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. Meanwhile, Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver of the Dark Order have also reportedly signed new 3-year contracts with AEW. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted All In has sold over 78,000 tickets, surpassing the real WrestleMania 3 attendance figure of 78,000 tickets sold, even though WWE inflated the number, as they do yearly, to 93,173. WWE SummerSlam saw one of the promotion's biggest stars endorse a rising star within the company. Brock Lesnar shook hands, hugged Cody Rhodes, and raised his arm in victory after Rhodes successfully defeated the Beast Incarnate Saturday night. Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, said at the post-event press conference that the post-match celebration wasn't planned and Lesnar did it on his own accord. It has been reported Ronda Rousey is taking time away from WWE and there's no time frame for her return. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that there were some issues between WWE and the 2 former UFC stars about how the match should have been laid out at SummerSlam. Meltzer quoted, "Ronda and Shayna wasn't the best match. You don't have knockdowns in an MMA fight and you don't have 10 counts. But it's like you have some people stuck in one mentality of combat and others in another, and it kind of hurt that particular match. This was the worst match on the card for SummerSlam this past weekend in Detroit. It was boring. It was so boring that 50,000 people inside Ford Field started chanting just that at the 2 former UFC stars. Hopefully, WWE learns its lesson and steers away from bullshit matches like this in the future." Samoa Joe has now become the second longest Ring of Honor television champion in the brand's history. The King of Television surpassed 472 days as champion, passing Dragon Lee's 2019-2021 stint that lasted 469 days. Joe now only trails Jay Lethal, who held the belt for a record 567 days between April 2014 and October 2015. Former world champion out with an injury and reveals he is still owed money by his past promotion. Nick Aldis, aka the National Treasure, opened up about his departure from NWA. Aldis addressed his exit from the NWA at the beginning of the year, stating that his relationship with Pat Keeney, no relation, the company's director of talent relations, soured quickly. He adds that the NWA still owes him money, which he doesn't expect to receive. The former 2-time champion also announced a week ago a back injury currently has him sidelined and that several events on the indie circuit had to be canceled. Aldis has remained a free agent in the competitive wrestling market ever since he finished up his incredibly short stint with Impact Wrestling at Slammiversary. That is the conclusion of Round 2 and Pro Wrestling News. We are going to keep this gravy train rolling and move right over to Round 3, title matches. However, warning, this particular segment may contain spoilers for your favorite promotions, including WWE SummerSlam pay-per-view. Listen, but with caution. NWA World Women's Television Champion Kenzie Paige and Angelina Love ended in a time-limit draw. Kenzie Paige retains the NWA World Women's Television Championship. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions Aussie Open defeated El Hijo del Vikingo and Commander to retain the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. Hikaru Shida defeated AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm to become the new AEW Women's World Champion. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions Aussie Open defeated Iron Savages to retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Ring of Honor Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata defeated Josh Woods to retain the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena defeated Diamante to retain the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. Impact Digital Media Champion Kenny King defeated Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura to retain the Impact Digital Media Championship. GCW World Champion Blake Christian defeated Mike Bailey to retain the GCW World Championship. LA Knight wins the WWE SummerSlam Battle Royal. WWE Intercontinental Champion Gunther defeated Drew McIntyre to retain the WWE Intercontinental Championship. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins defeated Finn Balor to retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Bianca Belair defeated Charlotte Flair and WWE Women's Champion Asuka to become the new WWE Women's Champion. Io Sky defeated WWE Women's Champion Bianca Belair after cashing in Money in the Bank to become the new WWE Women's Champion. Undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns defeated Jey Uso to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR defeated Big Bill and Brian Cage to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. AEW TBS Champion Chris Statlander defeated Mercedes Martinez to retain the AEW TBS Championship. AEW Trios Champions The House of Black defeated Lee Johnson, Darius Martin, and Action Andretti to retain the AEW Trios Championship. Real AEW World Champion CM Punk defeated Ricky Starks to retain the Real AEW World Championship. Alright, that is the conclusion of Round 3 and all those title matches and those exclusive results. If you missed SummerSlam or the beginning of this podcast, be sure to listen again to hear whether or not your favorite champion is still champion or if a new champion was crowned. We are at the end of the podcast, and we are coming up to Round 4, Did You Know Pro Wrestling Facts. Did you know are little bits of information and facts about the pro wrestling world that you may or may not have known about. You gotta love the bell. Did you know former WWF/WWE hardcore icon Steve Blackman currently works as a bail bondsman in the great state of Pennsylvania? Did you know Cleveland rapper MGK, aka Machine Gun Kelly, was powerbombed offstage by Kevin Owens in a 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw? Did you know former WWF/WCW wrestler Haku is an auto detailer working for David Mouse Toyota? Did you know the dog-faced gremlin, aka Rick Steiner, became a real estate mogul and also serves as a school trustee at his local school district? It's also no secret that he is a rampant racist. Did you know, shortly after his time within WWE, Gene Snitsky was hired as a bodyguard for former New York Yankee Alex Rodriguez and was a pitchman for the power pressure cooker XL? Did you know fabulous freebird Jimmy Garvin attained his pilot's license and flew commercial airplanes after retiring from pro wrestling at the age of 40? Did you know the winner of WWF's first Tough Enough competition, Maven, occasionally wrestles in the independent circuit, but primarily makes his living as a Wall Street financier? Did you know the multi-time WWF Women's Champion Medusa retired from wrestling and is now a monster truck driver competing at events across the country? And did you know former Glow and WWF wrestler Ivory runs her own doggy daycare and grooming service? That is the end of Round 2 Wrestling. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode while I, SlimmDa KID, bring you more news, more rumors, and more results from the world of professional wrestling.